Hi, it's Colleen and welcome back to my sewing channel. If you recall, my previous two videos have been on the making of a new 18th century costume. Well, every costume needs a hat and I don't have a hat for that one yet. And it occurred to me that I had some materials in my house that might be just perfect. Here are two placemats. They're round woven placemats and they're about the size and shape of an 18th century bergère hat. So you can kind of see how that would work if it's put on there just right with your ribbons and your decorations, and it could be just really great. So one of them is a little too floppy. It kind of droops down and doesn't have much shape. Two of them together, I think we're onto something. So I'm going to play around with these today and we'll see if we can't make a really nice 18th century hat out of them. So I've been thinking about how to make these rigid enough to lay flat as a hat. And I think I'm going to do a layer of interfacing in between the two. They are see-through by themselves. So I think I'm going to sandwich a circle of interfacing between two pieces of black fabric, and then I can put that in between my two placemats. And that'll give it enough stiffness to hold its shape. I'm also going to look at including a piece of wire around the rim here just to give me the ability to maybe put a little upturned brim on there somehow. I'll show some pictures on screen, but a lot of times these hats are turned up on one side or the other, or they might be flipped up a little bit in the back with some flowers kind of in that little bit of a curve. So in order for me to have some flexibility with doing that on my hat, I think I might want to add a little bit of wire in there. So let me just pull out my supplies and we'll see what we can make with this. Okay, I've gathered my materials, and the first thing I have is a piece of fusible pellin. So it's a medium weight interfacing that is meant to be ironed on, and I think it'll be a good weight for this project. So I'm just going to trace around my circle here, and I'm going to cut it slightly smaller than my tracing because I want to be able to stitch the edges of these two together and not have those inner materials showing. And then I have my black fabric that's got a nice weight to it. It's not too flimsy, it's not too thick, and I think it'll be a good weight for what we need to do. So I'm going to do the same thing here, but I'm going to cut out two pieces of it. I've ironed the interfacing onto one of the black circles and I have pinned it to the hat. I am thinking right now about what order of operations I need to do this in order for it to look nice, but also have all of the structure and elements that it needs to have in order to actually be a hat. I don't have any official millinery wire, but I do have some of this wire on a spool, and it's about like a twisty tie that you get with your trash bag. So it's plastic wrapped, kind of thin wire. My plan right now is to zigzag along the edge here, maybe 2 rows of it, and that will secure this piece to this piece of placemat. And I'll use the same color green thread so it won't show on the outside. Then I think I need to stitch my ties onto this piece. I'm going to have to, add some ribbons in order to tie it onto my head. So I think I can stitch it onto this piece and then sandwich that in between here and go around one more time and put that in place. Then I think if I'm going to trim it with some of the same trim I used on my jacket, I'm going to go ahead and stitch that on here prior to assembling it. And then that way all of those stitches will be hidden on the inside in the middle of the sandwich here, and you won't see a lot of them on the outside. And I like that you can see the black through the placemat. I actually really like that. But you can see why I needed black fabric in there, because otherwise this would have shown up more as white, and I didn't want that. So far it's going really well. You can see I've got my 2 lines of wire sewn around the brim, and I used a thread that would not show from the other side. So my placemat, my black fabric, my interfacing, and 2 lines of wire. Then I stitched on my ribbons, and I've got them clipped here out of the way so I don't get them hung up in any other stitching that I'm doing. I basically just pinned them to the hat until it seemed to be in the right place for my head in order to tie it on. Now I'm putting this other piece of black fabric over it, and I'm going to sew it on with the green color in the bobbin and my black thread on top. I'm very excited that this idea is working almost better than I thought. I'm excited to show you the finished product. So I just tested my hat. I pinned it all together tied it on, and I think I like this about this far away from the edge. And this is the same trim that I had on my costume. I can't use the bands of the hat as a guide because they do go in a spiral. So if I say, oh, I'm going to go 2 lines away from the edge, by the time I get to the back, I will not be in the same place as I am on the front. I have marked 2 inches from the edge of the hat with a little tiny Sharpie mark on the hat, and it will be covered up by this. You won't even see it. But I'm going to go ahead and line up the edge of my trim with that mark and stitch. So I'm starting at the back of the hat, or what will be the back of the hat. That way I know I can hide where the 2 ends of the trim meet. And as we come around to the back, it's not going to look even, but it will be even right at that 2-inch mark. All right, we're going to switch back to the green thread, and I have just enough to finish this project. So we're going to zigzag around the edge of the hat to join the 2 layers of placemats together. Oh, I ran out of thread. Thread chicken. And I lost today. Lucky for me, I had another spool of exactly the same color thread. I'm out on the bobbin. So aside from trimming some threads, this hat is complete. Here we have it, a quick and easy 18th century hat made from placemats. So you can see I've got my shaping in there. I've got a little bit of a turn up at the back. I have put my 18th century cap on, but I don't have 18th century hair. But you can see this is another way you can dress it up, just by tucking some flowers in there and pinning them. And so it's got a very nice shape. I will put on the whole outfit at some point and take pictures and show, but for a quick and easy hat, that's not bad at all. Finding some creative ways to make projects like this can actually be a lot of fun. To me, that's part of the challenge, right? How can I achieve the historical look without necessarily having to spend a fortune on materials? If I had to go out and buy these things, I could probably make this hat for around $10, especially if I do some careful shopping. But I had everything in my stash, so it didn't cost me anything. And I really like the way it looks with the material of my 18th century cassequin. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. If you like what you see here, don't forget to subscribe. Be sure you hit that notification bell and comment down below if you have any feedback on this project or anything else that I make. I also post regular updates on Instagram, so be sure to follow me there for updates in between projects. Thanks a lot and have a great day.